Everybody come see us on tour. We'll be in Columbus, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
The thing about MAGA is these people are crazy enough to stand in line for hours to attend a rally in a stadium. And we need them. Again, this isn't about protesting against Donald Trump. This is a protest for Donald Trump. This is a protest to tell Joe Biden.
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Not on our watch. We voted. America voted. You don't get to kill us before January 20th. Will they do it? I don't know. I'd like to believe they would, but one of the reasons is I don't think Americans have woken up to what the hell's happening. I don't think America realizes how close we came to dying on September 14th. God damn it. Excuse my language. We almost all died. I get furious about this when I see people going, oh, well, it didn't happen. It didn't happen because Russia stood tall, because at the last second, whatever's left of Biden's brain, the synapse connected, and he went, oh, nuclear war, bad. And he didn't sign the document. But here we are now on the cusp of them doing something that is automatic. It will lead to a war with Russia, and you will die. Do you not get it? Is it not worth getting off your butts, your derrieres, going to the White House, surrounding it, and sending the signal that this will not stand? You did it for Black Lives Matter. Now, I know I'm not allowed to say all lives matter because that's racist. But
here's the thing: is the left showed up for Black Lives Matter. Now it's a different base. Like, it's a different crop of voters.
Well, okay, that goes perfectly to my last question. Yeah. Now, three of us here are old enough to remember the Cold War well. And if you remember, the threat of nuclear war was a constant drumbeat in the media, in popular culture. We had The Day After. You had all of these movies, these Threads from England, which is still horrifying. It's still a horrifying movie.
Sting had a hit song about it.
That's right.
And today, the doomsday clock is closer to midnight than it's ever been. It's at 90 seconds. And you don't hear it at all in the media. You don't have them making these films to really impress on people what that would be like if we had a nuclear war. Like, the whole time I was growing up, that was a big presence, that constant shadow of nuclear war. And that was because they constantly reported it. They constantly made movies about it. Now, nothing. If they represent it in pop culture, it's in a campy way, like Fallout. They don't actually deal with it in that horrific way they did then. And I think that's a big part of why you're not seeing people in the streets.
Even Oppenheimer, the movie. I mean, I went to see that movie because I was putting a lot of intellectual emphasis on this. Could this be the day after of our age? Could this be the movie to scare young Americans into saying, my God, we don't. And I watched that and went, you didn't scare me. It didn't scare me.
It was a biopic. It wasn't even about that.
Yeah, it didn't do its job. You know, when I was in the Marine Corps, I was in a nuclear capable artillery unit. And so our job was to fire nuclear weapons if called upon to do so. And I remember being in a command post exercise, and it was a real world scenario. Russia came down through Turkmenistan into Iran, and they were going to come down and take Chabahar and Bandar Abbas. And we, the Marine Corps case, came in through Bandar Abbas, and we were moving out to take on the Russians. We wanted to get to the mountain passes first. And so we're doing our thing, and we engage with the Russians, and there's just too many of them, and they break through. So my battalion gets called in, and we're going to fire the 8-inch nuclear round downrange to stop the Russians. And so we go through all the release procedures, all the weapon release procedures, boom, downrange it goes, bam, whoop. And then the exercise ended. I said, why? It just got fun. They said, no, the Russians have retaliated with full-scale nuclear war and everybody's dead. It's over. I went, whoa, you mean, and that's when it hit me. Every single one of our military plans, every single one of them ends with my battalion pulling the lanyard on a nuclear round going down range. Every single one. There's not one that didn't end with this happening. And every time it happens, the exercise ends because the world ends. And I went, what the hell are we doing? This is as futile as it gets. There's no hope. We have to. And then when they sent me, because I was a hard charging Marine. I mean, I was really fanatic. Then they sent me to the Soviet Union to get rid of nuclear weapons. And I have to tell you, I was training to kill these son of a guns. I wanted to kill them, wade into them. Now they send me over there and I have to work with them. My entire life changed. I realized that they weren't the enemy. I realized that these were people just like us. I met the families of the engineers who built the intercontinental ballistic missiles that are aimed at our cities. And I sat down and had holidays with them. They cry like we do. They laugh like we do. They love their kids like we do. They want the same things. They just speak a different language. They have a different culture. They have different backgrounds, but we are the exact same people. And I said, my God, we can't be enemies with these people. We must be friends. And you know what? We got rid of nuclear weapons. We got rid of nuclear weapons. We got rid of nuclear weapons. We made the world safer. For a moment, we had that one brief, shining moment like Camelot, where it was there, it was possible, it was real. And then we got rid of it because the Cold War ended and we arrogant Americans screwed everything up. We suddenly stopped wanting to get rid of nuclear weapons, and we believed that arms control was about sustaining our nuclear advantage, of making ourselves superior to the Russians in every way, shape, and form. And we have lied to the Russians ever since. When I was a weapons inspector, that treaty was the Bible. We abided by it, both sides. There was no cheating. There was nothing, because we believed it. We understood. We understood the danger of nuclear weapons. We understood the consequences of failure, which is that everything we stand for dies. So we went overboard to make this treaty work, even though there were people in Russia and the United States that didn't want it to succeed. We overcame those obstacles. We made it work, and we lived. I keep telling people, you meet me on the street, you better shake my hand and buy me a damn beer, because I saved your life. Me and everybody like me stopped a nuclear war. But today people look at it and go, that's sort of funny, Scott. That's cute. Right. That's quaint. They don't believe it. They don't believe it because they're not afraid. How do we get the fear back into America? Because if we don't get the fear, they ain't going to the White House.
Well, do you think that's partly because the intelligence services have so completely penetrated the media now? I mean, now they literally have CIA agents as correspondents.
Well, that's also the result of the 1996 Telecommunications Act, right? So back then, when the three of us were young, and everybody was always talking about nuclear war, there were 50 giant media companies. Now there's only 6, and they're all controlled by a handful of billionaires, right? So you can't, and the only time you hear stuff like this is in places like this, which they're trying to censor. So I mean, that was by design. They had Bill Clinton do all that stuff. Then the Telecommunications Act was maybe the most harmful thing he did. And they always said the reason why they allowed him to consolidate the media like that was because now there's this new thing called the internet, and everybody's going to have a voice. There's going to be and then they're going to censor that voice, and then they're going to control it anyway. But go ahead, Scott. You could talk to that.
No, I mean, you're 100% correct. First of all, let me just, again, because this is so damn depressing, let me throw out some good news. Jimmy, tonight, this show is going to be seen by more people than watch CNN and MSNBC combined. Okay, this thing that Bill Clinton wanted to shut down is alive and well and living. We're winning. It's not over yet. There's a lot to be done, but we are having a greater impact on the American public than mainstream TV is. We have more people watch these shows, people who are listening and thinking. And so there's a chance that we might be able to turn the tide in terms of public opinion. That's why they try so hard to shut you down, shut me down, shut Russell down, shut all of us. They want to end this because they don't control this. And we're actually saying things they don't want us to say, and people are listening to things they don't want people to listen to. This is the good news, that we are actually doing quite well compared to what they don't want. They wanted to bring this all under control, and they haven't been able to. Elon Musk gets a lot of credit for what he did with X. Is it perfect? Hell no. Does he shut people down? Yes. He canceled mine
for a while, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But by and large, X is a platform where ideas can be put out there that the government doesn't want. So that's the good news. The bad news is the interagency still exists. The deep state is there. They in 1999, Bill Clinton did away with the Arms Control Act. Arms Control Disarmament Agency. It was an agency created in 1961 by JFK to promote arms control. And because ACTA was created, we injected arms control into the mainstream of American foreign policy. It led to arms control. Amazing. The Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty, the SALT agreements, the INF Treaty, the START Treaty, all this disarmament work came from the Arms Control and Disarmament Agency. But because arms control stopped being in vogue, because after the Soviet Union went away, we didn't feel we needed it. In fact, we didn't want it. We didn't want arms control. We wanted to dominate with our own arms superior. They got rid of it. And by doing that, the debate went from the State Department to the Pentagon. And the Pentagon decided they're just not going to talk about it. They're just going to move nuclear war off the chart. It's going to be there. They're going to spend trillions of dollars on it to upgrade, to keep things going. But there won't be any discussion. And I think the American people forgot about it because the U.S. government wanted them to forget about it, because it just simply stopped talking about it. And that's a big problem. But you know what? I'm not going to stop talking about it. I made discussing nuclear war, the threat of nuclear war, my prime purpose this summer. And, I'm not as big as Jimmy or you guys, but I got millions of people.
You're pretty big, man. You're pretty big.
I'm working on it. But together, this is what I call the family of podcasts. We all lie. We come on each other's shows, and it has a magnifying impact.
Absolutely.
Going from hundreds of thousands of views to tens of millions of views.
Yep.
And there are people out there talking about nuclear war today that wouldn't have been talking about it if we hadn't done things like this. So, one, I want to say thank you to all you guys for helping empower this movement. And it gives me hope again. I don't know. Hey,
thank you, Scott.
2 and 14 million, man. I'm getting there.
Hey, there you go.
Getting better.
You've doubled your optimism. You've doubled your outlook over the past hour and a half.
By 100%.
Glad we could do that for you. Well, Scott Ritter, pleasure to see you.
You have to be the first person who's ever come away from an interview with us feeling better.
Better, yeah, yeah, right, exactly. That's pretty good.
I set a very low bar.
All right. Well, Scott Ritter, you can find Scott Ritter's show, Scott Ritter U.S. Tour of Duty, on Rumble. You can also subscribe to your Substack, Scott Ritter Extra. Real pleasure to talk to you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All righty. Have a great night.
Everybody come see us on tour. We'll be in Columbus, Dayton, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky, Burbank, California, and Honolulu. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.